What if the thing you pour on your salad every morning is quietly rewriting your genes? Nobody thinks about it that way. Most people grab the bottle almost on autopilot, drizzle it on toast, mix it into vegetables, because somewhere they heard it's good for the heart. And sure, you probably came into this video with that vague idea. Good for the heart. That's true, but it barely scratches the surface of what actually happens inside your body when you consume extra virgin olive oil consistently. Long before you notice anything, your arteries are already responding. Your brain is already changing how its neurons connect. An inflammation you didn't even know you had is starting to ease off. And certain compounds in that golden liquid are traveling all the way to the nucleus of your cells, where they help decide which genetic instructions get switched on and which stay silent. Yes, a kitchen ingredient can do that. Today we're following that entire journey. From the moment it hits your stomach, through its effects on your blood vessels, your brain, all the way to the moment its molecules reach your DNA. And along the way, we're going to expose a mistake almost everyone makes, believing they're getting all these benefits when in reality, they're consuming something completely different. Because here's the part almost nobody knows. Not all olive oil behaves the same way inside your body. The difference between one bottle and another changes absolutely everything you're about to learn. Let's start at the beginning. When you take 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, what looks like a routine act triggers an extraordinarily coordinated chain of biological events. The moment the oil reaches your stomach and small intestine, your gallbladder releases bile. Bile breaks the fat down into microscopic particles so your body can actually process it. Think about trying to mix oil and water. They naturally separate, but shake hard enough and the oil scatters into thousands of tiny droplets. That's essentially what bile does inside your intestine, with extraordinary precision. Then your pancreas steps in, releasing pancreatic lipase to break those particles down even further into fatty acids and monoglycerides. Only in that form can they cross the intestinal wall and enter your bloodstream. And right there, the first effect worth pausing on shows up. Extra virgin olive oil stimulates the release of cholecystokinin, a hormone that sends direct signals to your brain related to satiety. That's part of why Mediterranean diets are linked to better appetite control and less compulsive urge to keep eating, even without any drastic restriction. How many times have you eaten and still felt like reaching for more? Part of the answer might be sitting in what you cook with. But that's just the opening act. What happens once these compounds enter your bloodstream is where the story gets genuinely extraordinary. The main component of olive oil is oleic acid, a fatty acid that, depending on the olive variety, can make up more than half the oil's total volume. And one of the first places its influence shows up is your cardiovascular system, though not in the oversimplified way most people think. The usual story is olive oil lowers cholesterol. What's actually happening is far more specific. Having LDL circulating in your blood isn't the real problem. The real problem starts when that LDL oxidizes, because oxidized LDL sticks easily to the inner walls of your arteries and damages them, slowly and silently. Picture your arteries as flexible tubes lined with an extraordinarily delicate layer of tissue called the endothelium. When oxidized LDL repeatedly hits that lining, arteries inflame, lose flexibility, and stiffen. Blood flow gets sluggish. Your heart has to work harder just to move the same amount of blood, and sustained over years, that has consequences preventive medicine has spent decades trying to reverse. Oleic acid steps in and protects LDL from oxidizing in the first place, before it can damage your arteries. The polyphenol in extra virgin olive oil also improve how HDL functions, the system responsible for pulling excess lipids out of your arteries and shuttling them to your liver. The result? A vascular environment with less inflammation, more elasticity, and more efficient blood flow. Why does circulation matter this much? Because there's one organ that depends on it completely, your brain. It makes up only a small fraction of your body weight, but it burns roughly 20% of all the energy and oxygen your body processes. It needs a constant, stable, uninterrupted supply. And olive oil reaches it in a way that goes far beyond just improving blood flow. Oleic acid can actually cross the blood-brain barrier, the biological filter that protects your brain and blocks most substances from entering. Once inside, it gets incorporated directly into neuron membranes. Neurons need a certain level of membrane fluidity to transmit electrical signals with precision. If those membranes stiffen up, neural communication starts to break down. Oleic acid helps keep that fluidity right where it needs to be. If that already surprised you, wait until you hear about oleocanthal. Oleocanthal is one of the signature polyphenol in high-quality extra virgin olive oil. You've probably felt it without knowing what it was, that slight, sharp burn in the back of your throat from some intensely flavored oils. That's not a flaw. That's not a production defect. That burn is the actual signal that oleocanthal is present in significant amounts. Science has been studying oleocanthal with growing interest because it acts on the exact same enzymes linked to inflammation that some well-known anti-inflammatory drugs target. The difference isn't chemical, it's about timing. It doesn't work like a single sharp hit. It works like a continuous signal, delivered every time olive oil is part of your regular diet. And that changes everything. The most dangerous inflammation isn't the kind you notice, the swelling from a cut or a bruise. That acute response actually serves a defensive purpose. The inflammation that should actually worry you is chronic, low-grade inflammation, the kind that doesn't hurt, shows no obvious symptoms, and operates silently for years. Over time, it's linked to cardiovascular damage, insulin resistance, accelerated cellular aging, and some of the hardest to reverse neurodegenerative processes we know of. Reducing it is one of the central goals of modern preventive medicine. If this is already hitting you, imagine what it means for someone who has no idea any of this is happening inside their own body. Share this before you keep watching. But there's one more layer, and it goes deeper than everything we've covered so far. Some compounds derived from olive oil's polyphenol appear to influence epigenetic processes. Picture your DNA as a massive library with millions of books, each one full of instructions for how your body runs. Not every book gets opened at the same time. Epigenetics is the system that decides which volumes get pulled off the shelf and which stay closed. Certain metabolites generated from olive oil's polyphenol seem to interact directly with that system. They don't change your genes themselves, but they influence which ones get switched on and which stay off. When you consume this oil, your body isn't just receiving calories. It's receiving chemical signals capable of changing how your body responds to inflammation, oxidative stress, and cellular aging. If you've always believed food only matters for its calorie count, this should completely collapse that idea. Now, everything you just learned depends entirely on one critical detail: whether the oil still has its active compounds intact. And this is where the most common mistake happens. Refined olive oil and extra virgin olive oil are not two versions of the same product. They are biologically different substances. When oil is extracted cold, it keeps its polyphenol, its vitamin E, its oleocanthal, and other bioactive compounds. When it goes through industrial refining, intense heat, aggressive filtering, most of those compounds are gone. What's left is still a plant-based fat, sure, but stripped of nearly everything responsible for the effects we just walked through. To pick a genuinely high-quality bottle, there are 3 simple things to check. First, it needs to explicitly say extra virgin olive oil, not light, not pure, not olive oil blend. Second, look for a harvest date, not just an expiration date. The more recent, the higher the concentration of active compounds. Third, the container, dark glass bottles or tins, protect the oil from light, which degrades antioxidants far faster than most people assume. As for how to use it, excessive heat destroys some of these compounds. Extra virgin olive oil works best raw, straight over vegetables, salads, bread, or drizzled on at the very end of cooking. Moderate heat is fine, but consistently pushing it to very high temperatures gradually breaks down the polyphenol that make everything we just covered possible. How much is enough? Most research showing clear effects uses around 2 tablespoons a day, roughly 28 milliliters. It's still a concentrated source of calories, so the goal isn't to pile it on top of everything else. It's to fit it into an already coherent way of eating. And maybe the most important part has nothing to do with dosage or timing at all. It's about consistency. Your body doesn't transform from a single meal. It responds when it receives the same signal, repeated, uninterrupted, over weeks, months, years. Your arteries respond to that consistency. Your neurons respond. Silent inflammation responds. That's exactly what makes extra virgin olive oil different from almost anything else sitting in your kitchen. It's not just a fat. It's a complex biological signal your body recognizes from the very first bite. And when kept up over time, it quietly reshapes how your body ages, how it inflames, and how it functions. Comment below, of everything we just covered, which effect surprised you the most?